Queen Elizabeth II agrees to suspend the British Parliament to pave the way for a Brexit to go through unimpeded. Thanks. Brexit looks like it will... Well, it's finally happened. It looks like Brexit will indeed happen after Queen Elizabeth II agrees to close down Parliament for 5 weeks to push through the Brexit bill. That's what we'll be discussing today on the podcast. So long have I waited for this moment to happen, when a genuine Conservative Prime Minister would come along to really stick it to those bureaucrats in the European Union who have treated us as their cash cow and their puppet for too long now. They have been recorded many times saying how their intention all along was to turn Great Britain into their colony. The only imperialists I know are the socialistic, Marxists, bureaucrats in the EU. They're not fit for purpose, they're not for us, and they were never elected. Okay, so we're going to watch Boris Johnson explain his historic decision that he took with the Queen, who, largely speaking, is only a ceremonial figurehead, and that's the same where you go wherever on planet Earth. But she does have certain powers that she can use in emergencies, and this is, by all accounts, an emergency. Brexit is an emergency. We need to deliver it. I think Boris Johnson knows that as a Conservative Prime Minister, if he bodges this and is forced to resign, that would make him the third Conservative Prime Minister to resign in a row, and that's unheard of in British politics. I think it's unheard of in politics in general, no matter where you're from. You cannot simply have a Conservative politician who resigns after another Conservative politician who resigned after another Conservative politician who resigned, all for the same reason, because they simply could not deliver a Brexit that is the will of the majority of this country. We voted to leave, and our decision should be honoured. Okay, so we're now going to hear what Boris Johnson has to say about the suspending of Parliament and the ongoing issue around Brexit.
Of Downing Street. We're not going to wait until October the 31st before getting on with our plans to take this country forward. And this is a new government with a very exciting agenda to make our streets safer. It's very important that we bring violent crime down. We need to invest in our fantastic NHS. We need to level up education funding across the country. We need to invest in the infrastructure that's going to take this country forward for decades. And we need to deal with the cost of living, moving to a high wage, high productivity economy, which is, I think, what this country needs to be. And to do that, we need new legislation. We've got to be bringing forward new and important bills. And that's why we are going to have a Queen's speech, and we're going to do it on October the 14th. And we've got to move ahead now with a new legislative programme.
Prime Minister, to do that Queen's speech,
Sorry to interrupt there, but I have to open my mouth. The mainstream media journalist in the background, or an excuse of a journalist anyway, has said that to do this would be to prorogue Parliament, and it would be basically an affront to democracy. Now, at the end of the day, the MPs and the politicians have done all the debating on Brexit that they could ever need to do in 1,000 lifetimes. They do not need to debate Brexit anymore. Not only have we had the debate before the referendum, and then we had the referendum. We had debates all the way through the referendum. We had debates after the referendum. We're having debates about Brexit now, even as the Queen Elizabeth II, is actively suspending Parliament so we can push this damn thing through. We've done with the debating, okay? Move on. Act on the will of the electorate. That's what we elect you to do. That's the whole idea of democracy.
Well, that is completely untrue. If you look at what we're doing, we're bringing forward a new legislative programme on crime, on hospitals, making sure that we have the education funding that we need. And there will be ample time on both sides of that crucial...
I just want to say that what is really disturbing me here is about Boris. I hope he is as legit as he makes out he is. However, he keeps sidestepping. He keeps talking about things like education and health and crime, which are all serious problems. I understand they're serious problems. That comes with the territory of being a modern, woke, diverse, multicultural society. It just happens. If you import the third world, you get the third world. It's just the way things are. Boris needs to keep on track here. He needs to have balls of steel right now, okay? And all of the old classic business as usual swamp politician tactics of spin, 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 deflect, deflect, deflect simply are not going to work here. The time for deflecting and the time for spin is over with. Done. Move on.
October the 17th summit. Ample time in Parliament for MPs to debate the EU, to debate Brexit and all the other issues. Ample time.
Your government does not have a majority. Even with the DUP, it only barely has a majority. Should we take from this?
So she's just contradicted herself there. The mainstream media so-called journalist, she said you do not have a majority, and then immediately contradicts herself by saying that they only have a slight majority, albeit of course with the DUP. However, they have always historically been on the side of the Conservatives.
You are planning a general election before the end of this year.
No, all you should take from this is we're doing exactly what I said on the steps of Downing Street, which is that we must get on now with our legislative domestic agenda. People will expect us. We need to get on with the stuff that Parliament needs to approve on tackling crime, on building the infrastructure we need, on technology, on levelling up our education, and
it's the same old buzzwords. Again and again and again. Listen, Boris Johnson will be the last mainstream politician I'd ever back. I do not back any mainstream politicians. Boris Johnson isn't my first choice. I was more of a Farage man myself. But the best we've got at the moment, allegedly, is Boris Johnson, and I'm willing to back him up here. However, he keeps deflecting here. This is classic swamp politician behaviour. He has to stop this. She's there, this journalist is there to question him on Brexit, to question him on the Queen having suspended Parliament, which is... It's something that hasn't happened for a long time. He needs to keep on track here and not lose any momentum.
And reducing the cost of living. That is why we need a Queen's speech, and we're going to get on with it.
You may not even know by the 14th of October whether you're going to get a deal, and the outlook could be quite different whether you do or whether you don't. So what have you...
You're not going to get a deal. The European Union is not going to give you a deal. We know this already. Just go no deal. They need us more than we need them. We know this. They are not going to give you a deal. They are not going to give us a deal. It is in their interest not to do so. It is in our interests to do so. They are not going to do it.
You've got to say to the public who may be concerned about the economic...
Well, we need to get on with our domestic agenda, and that's why we're announcing a Queen's speech.
And there we, if you play back this whole clip, and it's from YouTube, I'm sure you can find it yourself, and maybe cut down and examine each and every word he used and how many times he used them words, you'll find that he's only using certain few words over and over again. So this buzzwords thing, we know they do this. We know the mainstream politicians do this. They take their buzzwords and they run with them. Okay.
speech for October the 14th.
So there it was. There was his speech that he gave to ITV News, mainstream media, in which he spoke about the Queen suspending Parliament and the upcoming Queen's speech, which should be held on October the 14th, in which this is happening. It is hoped to shut down Parliament in the hopes that they can ram through a Brexit. However, that comes, whether it's through a deal, I don't believe it will. I think there is not a chance in hell we'll ever get a deal. We might get a capitulation, which is exactly what we were going to get with a Theresa May quote-unquote deal, which was nothing but terms of surrender. Even people within the European Union said it was as much. But our hopes at the moment rest in Boris Johnson. This, I would like to say it's historic. I suppose it is historic, but this has been done before. You've got to go back hundreds of years to find an instance where something like this has happened before, but it has happened before. That being said, I suppose it is historic, because Brexit in itself, this is the first time any country has ever decided to leave the European Union. It's in the European Union's interest to make sure countries can join but never leave, and that's exactly why the leaving process is so difficult. The European Union have seen Great Britain as a cash cow for decades now. We have put far much more into the European Union's coffers than we've ever took out. We have subsidised French farmers to the hilt, and a lot of people are fed up to the back teeth of what's happening with this. You've got to stop dragging your feet and really go for it. Okay, that was my commentary on what we are seeing here with the Queen's suspension of Parliament. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I've already done an upload today, so I apologise for doing two in one day. I don't mean to bamboozle you, but I only just found out about this, so I thought I would get something out there ASAP. Thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.